I am the oldest of 3 children. There is me, then my brother, and then a sister. But I was not the baby girl dressed in pinks, but in yellows, because yellow was my father's favorite color. My father was a hands-on dad. He changed diapers and gave babies baths. He took one of us at a time in his fuel oil delivery truck. He was going to a dairy farm or somewhere else he thought might interest us. I'm sure that would be illegal today, but we did it when I was a child. He had us pick strawberries in the garden alongside him, and he built us a swing set. Once, giving one of us a bath, neither he nor my mother remembers which, and he could remember which when we were older, my father lost his grip on the baby as he was bathing us, and he fell, or probably more likely slid, into the sink. It became an ongoing family joke. If one of us children did anything particularly stupid, we must be the one that Dad dropped in the sink. But Dad was not the incompetent dad of the sitcoms. We knew he could do things. He could bathe babies. He could build things. He could fix things. But I was surprised one day in my teens or young adulthood when my mother commented that she and Dad had the savings they did thanks to him. My mother was the one who sat down and did the bills, paid things, did the taxes. I was surprised to hear that Dad had an influential role in their money management. I once asked my mother what brought she and Dad together. They seemed so different. She liked to read. He liked to do things with his hands. She was interested in Bible study and Egyptian tombs. He was interested in fruit trees and raising chickens. But Mom said they had shared values. What I knew from little on up is that my parents had a respect for one another. They were partners in life. One did not dominate the other. My parents would have been shocked to realize that their relationship was crucial in my openness to the feminist theology I was introduced to as I attended seminary in the 1980s. One of my textbooks back then was Woman Spirit Rising, a feminist reader in religion. It contained essays like Mother Earth and the Mega Machine by Rosemary Radford Ruther, and After the Death of God the Father by Mary Daly, and What Became of God the Mother by Elaine Pagels. Mary Daly wrote, "The Judeo-Christian tradition has served to legitimate sexually imbalanced patriarchal society. Thus, for example, the image of the Father God, spawned in the human imagination and sustained as plausible by patriarchy, has in turn rendered service to this type of society by making its mechanisms for the oppression of women appear right and fitting. If God is in his heaven, is a father ruling his people, then it is in the nature of things that according to the divine plan and the order of the universe, that society be male-dominated." But Elaine Pagels writes of feminine, positive, Gnostic Christian views of God and human relationships in contrast to what became the patriarchal Orthodox Christian views. But she also names one Orthodox theologian as having more progressive views. She says Clement of Alexandria characterizes God not only in masculine but also in feminine terms. In describing human nature, he insists that men and women share equally in perfection and are to receive the same instruction and discipline. And in considering the active participation of women with men in the Christian community, Clement offers a list, unique in Orthodox tradition, of women whose achievements he admires. In more recent years, as I receive emails related to the LGBTQ plus experience, I have come to learn of the Mahu of Hawaii. A documentary, Kumahina, from 2015, tells the story of Hina Wankula, a transgender Native Hawaiian teacher and cultural icon who brings to life Hawaii's long-held embrace of Mahu, those who embody both male and female spirit, and were traditionally respected as caretakers, healers, and keepers of ancient traditions. A 2022 children's picture book, Kapea Mahu, was published. The Amazon blurb says in part, in the 15th century, 4 Mahu sailed from Tahiti to Hawaii and share their gifts of science and healing with the people of Waikiki. The islanders return this gift with a monument of 4 boulders in their honor, which the Mahu imbue with healing powers before disappearing. As time passes, foreigners inhabit the island and the once sacred stones are forgotten until the 1960s. Though the true story of these stones was not fully recovered, the power of the Mahu still calls out to those who pass by them at Waikiki Beach today. The power of us all, male, female, trans, cis, genderqueer, the power of us all calls out to be used for the benefit of us all. My parents would be surprised, maybe even shocked, to learn that they taught me this, but they did. There is a piece in our hymnals by American feminist Marge Piercy. It assumes a gender binary, but otherwise the point is clear. Counsels by Marge Piercy. We must sit down and reason together. We must sit down. Men standing one to hold forth, as I stand here. They rain down upon faces lifted. We must sit on the floor, on the earth, on stones and mats and blankets. There must be no front to the speaking, no platform, no rostrum, no stage or table. We will not crane to see who is speaking. Perhaps we should sit in the dark. In the dark, we could utter our feelings. In the dark, we could propose and describe and suggest. In the dark, we could not see who speaks, and only the words would say what they say. Thus saying what we feel and what we want, what we fear for ourselves and each other into the dark. Perhaps we could begin to listen. Perhaps we should talk in groups small enough for everyone to speak. Perhaps we should start by speaking softly. The women must learn to dare to speak. The men must bother to listen. The women must learn to say, I think this is so. The men must learn to stop dancing solos on the ceiling. After each speaks, she or he will repeat a ritual phrase. It is not I who speaks, but the wind. Wind blows through me. Long after me is the wind. Piercy was raised Jewish. She would know the Hebrew word ruach. It means wind, but that's not all it means. It also means breath, and it also means spirit. It is creative force. The first use in the Bible is in the first chapter of Genesis. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Ruach, the Spirit of God, was hovering over the waters. In Numbers, it is used to describe what gives us life. The Lord, the God who gives Ruach, breath, to all living things. In the prophet Isaiah, Ruach is used in this passage. The Ruach, the Spirit of the Lord, will rest on him. the Ruach, the spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Ruach, the spirit of counsel and of might, the Ruach, the spirit of the knowledge and fear of the Lord. After each speaks, she or he will repeat a ritual phrase. It is not I who speaks, but the wind. Wind blows through me. Long after me is the wind. Ruach, the empowering spirit, speaks through us all. That means that men should not dominate. That means that women should not dominate. That means that clergy should not dominate, that whites should not dominate, that no one should dominate, but that all should be equal. As our own nation's Declaration of Independence declares, with some slight edits to include more than men, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among us, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. My parents worked together to ensure the safety and happiness of a family. They knew that they had to take the safety and happiness of every family member into consideration, and not just one or some of them. And they also knew that that meant listening to their children and knowing what we needed and wanted, and what we were capable of doing within the family. In a society of equality, not a matriarchy, not a patriarchy, not a theocracy. We all nurture one another and ourselves. So on this Father's Day, I come to an end with this reading by Unitarian Universalist minister Evan Carville Zemer. He writes, I believe in fathering. I believe in the radical idea that men have the full human capacity to nurture. Hair bows and baseballs, cooking and creativity, tools and tiaras, camping and dancing, snuggles and shrieks of delight. Too many fathers don't believe in their own fathering. Too many are scarred by their own fathers to hear their hearts say otherwise. Too many have known fathers who, faced with a quivering lip and tears, could only say, man up. Too many have known fathers who knew only yelling and hitting. Too many have known fathers who lost sight of their sacred role of protector and became tormentor. But I believe in fathering. When a human being gestates and gives birth, their brain changes permanently. A father's brain changes permanently too, changes as he rocks his baby to sleep, delights in baby games, and soothes bumps and bruises. A father earns his new neurobiology. In a world where too many mothers hand their co-parent directions more specific than those given to the babysitter, when a father out with his kids is asked, are you babysitting? And where's mom? Where fathers are the punchline, I believe in fathering. I believe in the radical idea that men have the full human capacity to nurture. Whether their children come through birth, adoption, or fostering, through scouts, sports, Sunday school, or youth group. I've known too many gay dads, too many single fathers, too many men raising children others couldn't to believe otherwise. I believe we all, especially our children, deserve to know that the human capacity to nurture belongs to every one of us. I believe in fathering. Now, I had said I was coming to the end, but as I read that earlier, I thought I have to tell you one more story. It's a story of a minister from my childhood and my father. One Sunday we came into church and the minister had this completely round black and blue mark in the center of his forehead. And my father went up to him and said, "I know what you did." And the minister said, "There is no way you can know what I did." And Dad said, "Oh, yes, I do. I did the same thing. You know those little suction cup baby toys? Both of them had put one on their foreheads to play with the baby, only to end up with those nice, completely round black and blue marks on their forehead." The human capacity to nurture belongs to every one of us, and it is from that capacity that we should govern ourselves. For what is governance but the nurturing of a community? Speak, act, allow the empowering spirit to guide our nurture in love. Our closing hymn is 301 in the gray hymnal, "Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky." I invite you to stand as you're comfortable.